That was an interesting time because all of us were learning the ropes. Most of us had been working on the stage and then came to work on television when that became available. I also did a live series with Joe Masafia called Joe's World, and I still get people occasionally in the supermarket saying, "Oh, I remember you were Grant Laddie in Joe's World. Oh, I used to watch that when I was a kid." I mean, it was a long time ago, late 60s, I think. Scripts were written to be topical. Joe wrote the scripts, and I was his loyal assistant. And it was out of that also that, in view of the circumstances, Joe had written some scripts for In View of the Circumstances, which was a comedy sketch program. The NZBC in those days was very, very careful about not offending people. So we actually got a directive for that show to say we must be very careful and not to mention the Queen, religion, or the RSA. The Governor was interesting because I think it was one of the very first really big scale television series. In fact, I think Mr. Muldoon raised the question of money in the House about how much, in fact, the Governor actually cost to make all up. You would laugh at it today because there's just no way you could have done what you did then for the price that it was done at. I played the Reverend Henry Williams because Henry Williams had quite a distinct look, this rather bald forehead with sort of curly hair. And rather than give me a wig, they actually shaved the front of my head off and permed my hair. And rather than looking like it belonged on his head, it looked like a very bad wig. So I had to act, as it were, against the wig, against the haircut. His relationship with the Maori tribes in that area, being a man of the cloth, he felt, I suppose, that it was part of his job to make sure that there wasn't a lot of dissatisfaction and bloodshed. A group of us started a theatre company in Wellington called Circa Theatre. We were encouraging New Zealand writers to write for us, one of whom was Roger Hall, who came to us with this play called Glide Time. I designed the set for Glide Time, and that was fine. The play went on to be a huge success and was done all around the country as well, but it started off at Wellington. And we encouraged Roger to offer us his next production, which happened to be Middle-Aged Spread as a stage play, and I was able to do that one. So I was given, or maybe I took, the part of Colin. The Middle-Aged Spread occurs to Colin, the headmaster, who, midlife male crisis, I suppose, who falls for a supply teacher, relieving teacher at the high school, just as he becomes headmaster. I was very lucky in that one because I'd played the role. I knew the character inside out. So stepping in front of the cameras, I wasn't having to invent the whole new character for the movie. I was just able to exist as this guy I'd already been previously. And I think that helped tremendously. So I didn't have to prove anything. I didn't have to push anything. And Roger writes very well for the comic turn and the tragedy turn, and within the same sentence sometimes. And I enjoy playing those kinds of roles. People still say, "Oh, I saw that Carry Me Back. I really enjoyed it. I thought that was a great movie." And again, it's another part I enjoyed enormously because it was calling on other kinds of sort of deadpan humour skills that New Zealanders, I think, quite good at. We've quite good at playing irony. The scene where he's actually just about driving home, Dad has caused all the problems when he was alive and also when he was dead, and the character Arthur gets the chance to talk to his dead father and tell him what he really thinks and what he really feels about that. It was interesting the way that was shot. It was shot with a camera on the outside window looking across, and they just said to me, okay, drive, and the camera's running and you just do the scene. So basically I was just left on my own. Well, that's good. I mean, I really enjoy a director who trusts that you understand what the particular scene involves and gives you a chance to go for it. And in that one, you possibly notice I stumble over a few words because I'd forgotten what I was supposed to be saying. So you go with I went with the emotion of the time about that I needed to tell my father the really important things. It just so happens he was dead alongside me and wouldn't actually hear them. Claire was the cervical cancer experiment based on one of the women's stories there. And they are real people, of course, and they already exist, so there's not a lot of room to move in terms of characters. I played the Crown Prosecutor David Morris in Beyond Reasonable Doubt, the Arthur Allen Thomas trial, and that was already pretty prescribed because the script was also based on what went on actually in the courtroom. So as best you can, you try and recreate what you know of these people, what you do in your research. And Bonham turned out, I suppose, to be one of the villains in the Claire story. And I actually enjoyed doing that because he was the villains are always more interesting to play than the heroes, in my opinion. In Skin Deep, I played Phil Barrett, who was the angst-driven young man who develops a crush on the masseuse who comes to town, to the small town, and he thinks there's more to the relationship than is possible and goes into a jealous rage and smashes up the gymnasium where she's been working. My recollection of it, because it is a while ago now, my recollection is that we didn't quite know from day to day what the scenes were going to be. I think the general form was there, but they seemed to be honing material virtually right up to the time of shooting. I've never been to war, but I believe one of the things about active service is hurry up and wait. Everything's got to be done there, and then you wait for the real important things to happen. In the movies, it's like that. So you get ready and you're ready to go, and then you sit around for several hours, or in the case of the Bully Hayes movie, Savage Island, it was weeks waiting sometimes between the bit you were used in and the next bit. Savage Islands was a big overseas production. I played a sort of junior baddie, although I was the captain, the German captain of a tramp steamer out to cause havoc in the Pacific for Bully Hayes, the story was about Bully Hayes. That was good. I got to do sword fights, which was the first real big stunt performances that I was giving, having to sword fight with Tommy Lee Jones, who was the swashbuckling hero. And I said I really, really wanted to do the final die aria myself, get stabbed and fall over the side of the ship. But you're not allowed to do that. So the stuntman had to actually do the fall over the side.